All right, lace them up sports. Let's go.
Let's go.
Will somebody tell me if we're supposed to start the program?
Freeman hits the ball to right field.
Into right field. She is gone.
Oh, what a pass. Doncic, perfection there on the assist. A little magic from Doncic.
Stafford takes the shoulder, takes a shot downfield. It is caught by Nakua. He picked him on his shoulder and made the catch.
One of a kind player. One of a kind season. Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Dumping in on the count. LeBron James at the buzzer.
This game's in the Admiral refrigerator. The door is closed, the lights out. Butter's getting hard, the eggs are cooling, and the jello is jiggling.
LeBron James. LeBron James. What's going on, everybody? And welcome to an all-new LA Sports Roundup podcast. Hope you guys are doing well. Sitting here recording live Tuesday, January 30th, 2026. I am not recording in the LA area today. I'm actually recording. I'm taking a little vacation, visiting a friend here in southern Utah. We're doing some hiking this week, going up to Zion, Bryce Canyon, all those good hiking trails I love, and taking some time away. And I really wasn't planning on recording today. I was gonna record when I got back home in a couple days, but you know, as I always say, when you leave and you don't expect things to happen, things happen. And sure enough, LeBron James he has informed through his agent, Rich Paul, that he has informed the Lakers that he is no longer interested in coming back. The Lakers can move on from him, and he is going to play elsewhere. That's what we're going to get into today. I apologize if the sound is a little bit off. I'm just recording off of my AirPods right now. And so I don't have my usual microphone set up. I'm just recording off my AirPods into my laptop. So I hope the quality of the sound is not too terrible. But before we get started into today's podcast, again, guys, I want to remind you that you can hit, subscribe, follow us anywhere on social media, on Instagram, on X, on YouTube, all of our social media platforms. TikTok is one of the best. We have our best numbers on TikTok, guys. Feel free to hit subscribe, follow us, stalk us on all of our social media accounts, on Spotify as well. This is where you're listening to today's podcast, Apple Podcast. Give us a follow there. YouTube, subscribe to us. Need to up those numbers. And always, guys, if you have a question, I'm just going to say it right now. If you have a question you want me to read out loud and maybe into a future mailbag, we can do that. If you have a question about any of our LA teams, feel free to write us at laceemuptakes@gmail.com. That's laceemuptakes@gmail.com. 8 years ago on July 1st, 2018, LeBron James signed with the Lakers and changed the history of the Lakers, the trajectory of the Lakers going forward. LeBron James had an all NBA Hall of Fame career by that point, played with the Cleveland Cavaliers, then with the Miami Heat, back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. At that point, he was a three-time NBA champion. At that point, LeBron James was already going into his 17th NBA season, really with no controversy at all. Besides LeBron doing the decision back in 2010, the summer of 2010, in which he had this whole infamous platform on ESPN in which he decided that he was going to take his talent to South Beach and leave the Cavs to go to the Miami Heat and join Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade. That was the only controversy LeBron James had ever had in his career up until that point. And still, 8 years later, in his 24th season going into, he still really hasn't had any controversies whatsoever, besides the decision that really kind of just changed his trajectory in a way, because he was always, when he first came into the league, he was that really, if we're going to go into WWE terms, he was a babyface, but leaving the Cavaliers, he turned heel, and with the Miami Heat, he was a villain. But then when he went back to the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2014, he redeemed himself by going back to the Cavs, and he won the NBA title in 2016 in one of the most remarkable Game 7s of the NBA Finals history. That chase down block to Andre Iguodala will always go down as one of the more famous moments in NBA history, bar none. And like I said before, LeBron James had a Hall of Fame career before he came to the Lakers. If he had decided before he came to the Lakers that he was going to retire in the summer of 2018, he would be a first ballot Hall of Famer. But he wanted to continue to play. He just didn't want to play in Cleveland anymore, and that's totally understandable. Let's say this: the Lakers really didn't have to do any type of bargaining. Really didn't have to do any type of marketing towards LeBron. From I would say a year prior, maybe even more than that, LeBron he knew that he was coming to the Lakers. He knew he was already planning it. It was just a matter of when, not if. He knew, and so the Lakers really didn't have to do much. All they had to do really was just not really completely shit the bed in terms of trading away assets or not having the financial flexibility in terms of bringing in LeBron James. Because it really wasn't even about the talent at that point. The Lakers had, let's look at the Lakers roster by 2018. They had Lonzo Ball. They had Kyle Kuzma. They had not even Julius Randle at that point. It was the Lakers, the baby Lakers, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, even D'Angelo Russell. I mean, he was gone by that point too. But all those baby Lakers, they were just infants in terms of NBA standards. It by no means was a team ready for LeBron James to compete with. It was definitely going to take some time for them to really get their shit together in terms of bringing in free agents for LeBron and the baby Lakers in order to compete. But the major thing that when signing a guy like LeBron James does when you have a young core, it completely derails everything that you have set in motion. When Luke Walton got hired by the Lakers, he asked Mitch Kupchak, he asked the Lakers regime at that point if they were going to be patient enough in order for the baby Lakers to develop. And they said yes. But that was before LeBron James came. Once LeBron James came to the Lakers, that was dead. That was completely dead. They knew going forward that they were going to try and trade as much assets to get somebody like Anthony Davis, to try and get a Paul George, to try and get a Kawhi Leonard, in which they really, really tried. Now, ultimately, they were only able to get Anthony Davis, but that was fucking amazing. That was good enough to get them to the 2020 championship, and we can get to that in a little bit. But having LeBron James on your team meant that every single season, him being on your team, you are going to gamble your future. You're going to mortgage the future in order to win now. So that's what the Lakers did. In the summer of 2019, we traded away Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart to the New Orleans Pelicans to bring in Anthony Davis. And it was, Anthony Davis and LeBron James playing together in that first season was remarkable. It was like a match made in heaven between those two. It really was. I mean, it seemed like they were destined to play together and play great together from the opening tip, really, from the get-go. And it was beautiful to watch. Lakers that season, the 2019-20 season, the Lakers were the best team in the Western Conference all season long. And I think at some points were the best team in the NBA at some points as well, record-wise. Now, one of the major things that I'll always give LeBron James credit for is when our late great Kobe Bryant passed away on January 26, 2020. LeBron James was the face of the Lakers already at that point, but Laker fans really, really struggled letting LeBron James take the keys of to the kingdom, because Kobe was he was our Lord and Savior. Even before he passed away, Kobe was our guy. He was the literal king of Los Angeles, and people had a hard time just letting LeBron James come in. Obviously, controversial as ever, polarizing as ever. And people had a really hard time letting LeBron James, or just even thinking about LeBron James being the face of the Lakers. But when Kobe passed away, I'll always give LeBron James the benefit of him just, throwing, like, in that moment when the Lakers came back and played their first game against the Portland Trail Blazers, the game after Kobe passed away. LeBron James, he threw away the script, and he said an emotional piece from the heart. And that to me was the day LeBron James really truly became a Laker. When he threw away the script and he just spoke from the heart. That was powerful. That was really powerful by LeBron James. And it was the moment I really think that he was the face of the Lakers. And now, obviously, I've had many, many, many discussions with everybody that hates LeBron James. I've asked them why. Why do you hate him? And the simple answer is that they have never liked him. And you know what? To be honest, that's what it is. If you didn't like LeBron James, you will never like LeBron James. That's, there's no convincing you at that point. It's just what it is. There's people out in this world. Obviously, there's leaders in this country that either you love them or you hate them, right? And if you have never liked that person, you will never like that person. You can't be convinced otherwise. And that's what it is with LeBron James. But to me, in that moment when Kobe passed away, the game after against the Portland Trailblazers, that to me was the defining moment in which I think LeBron James truly accepted becoming a Laker. And unfortunately, during that 2020 season, that wasn't the only tragedy to happen during that season. Just a month or two after the global pandemic happened, COVID-19, not only shutting down the NBA season, but shutting down the world, leaving the world at despair in which we had never seen before. We didn't even know what was going to happen as a country and in this world, how it was going to affect people. Millions and millions of people were passing away from COVID-19. And so it really just left people, just not focused on basketball, but just focused on how they're going to live their lives and, how they're going to survive and being with their families. And it was a really, really tough point. And so the pandemic happened, the season shut down for several months, I think from March to about June and late June, I think. That's when it reopened. And then that's when we got to the bubble that season. The NBA bubble came about in Orlando, Florida. And many players have deemed it as one of the hardest playoffs in recent NBA history. I think, for many players that were there, they really struggled, especially, we kind of make fun of the Clippers a lot. We make fun of Paul George, but, it really affected some of the players' mental health. And a lot of the players just simply either didn't want to be there or it was just tough being there in general. And so the Lakers had a really tough task at hand if they wanted to continue their momentum from the season, because we were the best team all season long. And so taking several months off, trying to regroup and refocus coming back into the bubble, that was a hard thing for teams to really to do. And so, you know what the Lakers did, so did all the other NBA teams that were invited into the bubble. Some of the teams weren't even invited. And so some of these lower level teams that weren't going to make the playoffs, they weren't invited to the bubbles. And so the Lakers had to do their part in terms of getting themselves together. And look at Avery Bradley at that time. He decided not to join the bubble and join the rest of the team. And so that was tough replacing him. But the Lakers did their part. And I think signing J.R. Smith and who else was on that team? I remember J.R. Smith at that point. But the Lakers had to reconvene and continue their playoff push in a enclosed environment in the NBA bubble in Orlando, Florida. And that's what they did. They went headstrong heading into the playoffs. And again, more controversy. And it looked like the season was going to just quickly, abruptly end again when, major political and social injustices around the world, especially with George Floyd and I believe Jacob Blake and those situations happening on the streets of Wisconsin and Minnesota, and Minneapolis, I should say, that really led to almost the league kind of just breaking apart again in the NBA playoffs and just totally and just focusing on the social injustices that the players wanted to focus on and using their platform to help with that situation. But they reconvened together, and I believe it was a meeting during the bubble in which players heavily leaned on LeBron James's decision in order if they wanted to continue playing. If LeBron James said, hey, let's go and focus our attention elsewhere, then they would have stopped the bubble, they would have stopped the season, the playoffs, and that would have been it. But LeBron James decided to continue playing, and so did the rest of not only the Lakers, but all the other NBA teams that were continuing to play as well. So going forward into the playoffs, the Lakers continued to dominate, and on October 2nd, 2020, the Lakers won their 17th NBA championship, hangings number 17, championship banner number 17 in the rafters of Staples Center. Now, obviously, LeBron James has played another additional 6 more seasons with the Lakers after that 2020 NBA championship, but that's going to be really the defining factor of what Laker fans are really going to remember Lakers tenure to be. It'll be that 2020 NBA championship, whether you want to call it a Mickey Mouse ring, whether you want to call it a bubble ring, whatever it is, it's an NBA championship. His fourth, the Lakers 17th altogether, and that's the reason why they came together in the first place, was for the Lakers to regain their glory moments, for the Lakers to be back at the top of the mountain, and for the LeBron James, really, for him to continue playing for championships, playing with all-star caliber players like Anthony Davis, playing for and just competing for an NBA championship. And as we all know, after that, the Lakers had a real legit chance to repeat. Obviously, since the Lakers went the distance in the bubble in the playoffs, they only had a 2-month layover from the end of the season to the beginning of the next season. And so that really took apart the Lakers' wear and tear in terms of going forward that next season. And they had a really good chance to repeat. They had signed Marc Gasol, they had signed Montrezl Harrell, they had a couple other new signees. But again, they let go of Dwight Howard, they let go of Rajon Rondo, and that was kind of a mistake because I think if you're going to repeat, if you want another chance to hoist up another Larry O'Brien championship trophy, then you need to be able to keep the team that won last year together. And I think, in terms of championship teams, if they want to be able to repeat, keeping the squad together, running it back is always the best bet going forward. Because once you start breaking it up, it's never the same. And that's what happened with the Lakers. They started chipping away at the pieces like Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, sending them away. Brought in new pieces. Marc Gasol was good, but he wasn't as great as he used to be. Montrezl Harrell really wasn't truly a fit. And so once you start breaking away those pieces, it's truly never the same. And that's what happened with the 21 Lakers. Anthony Davis got hurt in the playoffs that year. I think LeBron James was coming off a really serious ankle injury at that point, and they got bounced in the first round against the Phoenix Suns. And so that was really disappointing in a sense because I thought we had a really good shot at repeating. But the real major nail that did in the Lakers, it wasn't that. It was completely obliterating the 2020 team and bringing in Russell Westbrook for the following season. That was, if you look back at the most damning thing the Lakers and LeBron James that they had done with their tenure together, it is 100%, and everybody can agree with this. It is 100% bringing in Russell Westbrook, trading for him, trading Montrezl Harrell, trading Kyle Kuzma, trading KCP to bring in Russell Westbrook. And at that point, look, Westbrook, he was still good. He was still good. He was still an all-star caliber player, but it didn't work whatsoever. And you know what? At the end of the day, Westbrook, he still worked really hard and tried his best to fit in with the Lakers, but he just wasn't the same at all. And you could see it from the preseason that year, turning the ball over, just being reckless with the ball, not knowing what to do on offense. And that continued all season long. And also in that 22 season, Anthony Davis was continuing to get hurt. I don't even think he played half of the games that season. And if he did, it was barely half of the games that season. He couldn't stay on the floor. It was just continuous injuries all season long for Anthony Davis. And the team didn't gel as well. We did eventually bring in Dwight Howard back. We did bring in Rajon Rondo back. But at that point, the chemistry was lost at that point. Trevor Ariza was on that team. Old-ass Trevor Ariza, Carmelo Anthony was on that team. And the team altogether, if you looked at it on paper, this 2012 All-Star team here, that would have been great 10 years prior. But in the year 2022, it just didn't work. All those guys were past their prime, except for AD and LeBron, but AD wasn't available. And LeBron, I think, just kind of looked at the situation and was like, well, if we're not really going anywhere, I'm just going to stop trying. And that was the epitome for the Lakers that season, and we didn't even make the playoffs that following season in 2022. So that was really hard to swallow. A tough pill to swallow if you're a Lakers fan. And I think the most damaging part of all of it, it was LeBron James's decision. Him and Anthony Davis and Rich Paul of Clutch, they went to Lakers brass. They went to Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss, and they convinced them to pull the trade for Russell Westbrook. And so when it didn't work, LeBron James didn't carry any responsibility for it. He was also very dismissive of it as well. I think that really ruined his relationship with Russell Westbrook as well, because at that point, before they brought him in, they were friends. They were good friends, and I think by that point, the following season, they had stopped talking to each other. And I think one summer league, they were sitting on opposite ends of the court, didn't even acknowledge each other. And so that was really weird to see. And I think that really put a strain on the team, put a strain on his relationship with management. And that was something that really just kind of took us by really just a shock, because LeBron James really just didn't take any responsibility for him bringing in Russell Westbrook, didn't acknowledge that it was a bad mistake. And so left it to management to really pick up the pieces and try to fix things. And that's basically what it was. He was very dismissive of it. He wanted management to fix the problem instead of taking some responsibility himself. And so that was a huge, huge issue. Now, we still had Russell Westbrook on the team the following season after that in 22-23. But, that to begin that season was really, really rough. And keep in mind this, too. LeBron James didn't carry any responsibility, and he really got Frank Vogel fired because of that situation, too. Lakers had let go of Frank Vogel, a coach that coached us to an NBA championship not a year and a half prior. So I felt bad for Frank Vogel. I really did. I really don't think that he deserved to get fired like that. I think it was really out of his control in terms of the management's decision to bring him in, LeBron James and Anthony Davis's decision to bring in Russell Westbrook, and it really wasn't on Frank Vogel like that. And I think there was reports throughout the year that Frank Vogel had lost the team and his relationship with Westbrook wasn't that great. But it wasn't his fault so much, that it was other people's faults, other parties' faults. And I do feel really bad that he got the shaft of that. So, yeah, heading into that 22-23 season, it was rough. We had just hired Darvin Ham. Ham was a good coach, but, kind of unexperienced as a head coach. But then something miraculous happened. In the trade deadline of that season, we had traded away, finally, after a year plus of having Russell Westbrook, we were finally able to find a trade for him, because at that point, his toxicity was so high. I mean, it was just beyond toxic at that point with Russell Westbrook. But we finally found a trade for him. We had traded with the Utah Jazz. We brought back D'Angelo Russell. We brought back Jared Vanderbilt. We brought back, well, we didn't bring back, but we had brought in Malik Beasley at the time. And that was a trade that really shifted the Lakers' momentum. We had went from a floundering team to a thriving, young, athletic, defensive-minded, scoring-minded team. And that carried us all the way to the Western Conference Finals of that 2023 playoff run. We don't get there if we still have Russell Westbrook on that team. But we get to the Western Conference Finals of that year, and we're thinking Banner 18 is coming. All of the bullshit of LeBron and Russell Westbrook had been put behind us. But unfortunately, we got absolutely pummeled by the Denver Nuggets, and that ended our Banner 18 hopes. And really, that was truly the Lakers' last shot of winning banner number 18, championship number 18, with LeBron James on the team. That was our true last shot of a championship with LeBron, and the Lakers haven't really been the same since then. The next year we got swept out of the first round, or not swept, in 5 games, again by the Denver Nuggets. And then after that, we completely just revamped everything by trading away Anthony Davis in a complete shocking trade to bring in Luka Doncic. And so nobody saw that coming, but that was the start of the end for LeBron, if you could say. Bringing in Luka Doncic, that was the telltale sign of we're going to completely move off of LeBron being our number one guy, of him ruling the roost, of him controlling the decisions around the team. We're going to move forward in a different direction, bringing in Luka Doncic. And that was truly the best move forward for the Lakers to do. Now, obviously, nobody saw it coming at that point. Nobody saw it coming. I mean, you could ask any of the psychics around the world, and even then, they could look into their little magic ball, okay? They could do their tarot cards, and even then, they couldn't see it coming because it was not in the realm of possibility until Nico Harrison, the former general manager of the Dallas Mavericks, made the stupidest decision of his life to trade away their superstar, Luka Doncic, for Anthony Davis, an aging superstar at that point, a broken down superstar at that point, trading him away because what? Luka Doncic was a little tubby. He liked to eat. I like to eat, you know. But Luka Doncic is Luka Doncic. You don't trade that guy away. But yet somehow Nico Harrison was stupid enough to trade away Luka Doncic, and eventually that costed him his job. But anyways, Luka's on the Lakers, and that was the turning point for the Lakers in order for them to say, "Hey, LeBron, thank you for everything that we've done. We've been through the highs and the lows, but eventually we're going to move off of you as our guy." And LeBron James, to his credit, stayed for another year plus, in this season. As we saw, he really took to being the third banana on the team. It really didn't look like it was going to work at the beginning of the season. But as we know, in March of this year, went 15-1 with him as that third option behind Austin Reaves, behind Luka Doncic. And we're thinking that we could be poised for a championship run with Luka, Austin, and LeBron. Him really accepting that role. Unfortunately, that fateful night in Oklahoma City, that was the end of the Luka LeBron era playing together, in which Austin Reaves got hurt that night, Luka Doncic got hurt, and we're back to LeBron being the focal point, carrying us into the playoffs. And again, give credit to LeBron. He did his thing in that first round of the NBA playoffs this year. We won that series based solely based off of his playing performance. We don't win that series without him, obviously, and he really picked apart the Houston Rockets, and it was like almost like old school LeBron James carrying the way. And I think that really gave LeBron James the insight for him thinking that he could still perform and still play. And obviously he can. If he wanted to, he could play another 2-3 years. I don't think that's going to happen, but if he wanted to, I think he could play at that, maybe not at an all caliber level, but he could still play pretty effectively. And that was on display for the most part during that playoff run. And again, we beat the Houston Rockets, and that was great. Then we went into the second round against a buzzsaw of the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we got absolutely destroyed. We got swept. And so that was to be expected. All of that said, it was time for LeBron James to go. It really was. It was time for the Lakers to fully turn the page on moving off of LeBron James and turn the page into this being truly Luka Doncic's team, centering everything around him, finding the pieces that fit around Luka Doncic for us to be successful around him, because it was truly never going to really work with him and LeBron James. LeBron James is so polarizing, and his ego can take control of his actions, take control of the scenario at any given moment. And so, it was time to fully cut the cord from LeBron and move off of him. And look, as a fan, I am totally grateful for the things he has brought us. He has brought the Lakers back to relevancy in 2018. He delivered on that championship at a time we were heartbroken that Kobe Bryant passed away, and he delivered on that 2020 title. And obviously there could have been more. Obviously the Westbrook situation happened, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. But we got through that. In doing so, we had went through several head coaches, and, Luke Walton, Frank Vogel, Darvin Ham, and in LeBron's last two seasons, it was JJ Redick. Redick, really, he fits towards, not with LeBron James, although they were good friends at that point, but he fits around Luka Doncic, and that's what Luka Doncic, he's the head coach that Luka Doncic needs, and more importantly, the team needs to be evolved around Luka Doncic. And like I said, I'm totally grateful for LeBron James and everything he has brought, but thank you. But, it is time for us, like I'm going to quote The Office here, it's time for us to separate our professional ways. And, thank you, LeBron. I'll be totally grateful for you. I still have a couple of your jerseys here. Oh, not here. I'm in Utah, but at home. But, yeah, it was time. And I think going forward for the Lakers, it's now about Luka Doncic. And for LeBron, he can play his last season or whatever in a different uniform. Where he goes, now look, there's been a lot of rumor and speculation that he's going to be going to Golden State, reuniting with Anthony Davis to pair up with Steph Curry and Draymond Green. That could be interesting. That could also be the retirement home, a fossil home for a lot of those players. If that happens, it'll be very interesting to see. He could go back home to Cleveland. That would be really great for LeBron's legacy, I think, for him to retire as a Cav and hopefully get them over the hump, get them back into the finals. He could go play in New York. He could play wherever he wants. He could play on Mars. But it's going to be not in a Lakers uniform. It's going to be with a different team. And best of luck to LeBron going forward, but even better luck to the Lakers. And the Lakers have been keeping themselves very, very busy even before this. The NBA draft has just happened. We selected a couple of pretty talented players. One named Cameron Carr. He is one of the nation's most explosive athletes. He was a four-star recruit, Minnesota native, a son of former NBA player Chris Carr. He's a very, very elite vertical athlete who gained a lot of attention for his highlight dunks, but even before college. He played at Tennessee, transferred to Baylor. In his final year at Baylor this past season, he exploded statistically. I mean, he averaged 18.9 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game, 2.6 assists per game. He shot 49.4% from field goals, 37.4 from three, and free throws were 80.1%. And so he started all 34 games while earning an all Big 12 third team honors, and he scored 642 points, one of the highest single season totals in Baylor history, while leading the Bears in blocked shots. So this guy is no joke. He is one of the most talented players in the NBA draft, and a lot of people are thinking the Lakers had the steal of the draft here, selecting him. The Lakers traded up to the number 24 pick, and so the Lakers seemingly have a really, really good player. The only thing is, look, is JJ Redick going to give him time this season? Because typically he hasn't really been given a lot of rookies a whole lot of time. It just depends on the Lakers' needs. And so whether he spends time with with not the South Bay Lakers anymore, but with the Lakers G League team up in the desert now, Coachella Valley, the Coachella Valley Lakers. I was trying to think of the name. But whether he spends time in Coachella Valley or with the main roster Lakers, it'll be a good pickup for the Lakers to have. Obviously he's going to need a lot of development still, but a good athletic player for the Lakers and a guy that can shoot and is athletic. And that's what the current NBA is, having defensive-minded players, guys that can shoot, guys that can block, athletic. You need guys that are just utility guys and guys that can do it all. And so that's what this guy, Cameron Carr, is, and hopefully he can develop for the Lakers. Joining Carr in Summer League, the Lakers have signed a couple players to the Summer League roster. One is the MAC Player of the Year. His name is Peter Sutter, who is really good offensively from all reports, and so he's agreed to a two-way contract. And also A.K. Okereke of Miami. The Lakers, they've been really busy at signing guys for their Summer League roster, but the big news that happened last week was the re-signing of Austin Reaves. Reaves and the Lakers have agreed to a $185 million contract, 4 years, not quite the max. We had discussed on a podcast previous that we didn't think that Austin Reaves was going to get the full $200 million max, just because there were some issues with, his playoff performances the last 2 years, and was he really worth it? But he is close to that max contract, and the Lakers and Austin Reaves have agreed. They do think that he is close to that max, and so they offered him that $185 million contract for 4 years. And, look, it was something that Austin Reaves, he wanted to stay in LA. He wanted to be able to continue his career with the Lakers. The Lakers gave him an opportunity several years ago as an undrafted player to come in and work out for the Lakers, and they signed him to an NBA contract right away. And so he wanted to be able to reward the Lakers in that way. Obviously he probably could have gotten a max contract from the Brooklyn Nets. He probably could have gotten a max contract elsewhere, maybe even the Detroit Pistons. I know the Pistons were coming at him pretty hard and trying to pair him up, with their superstar Cade Cunningham. And so that would have been a dangerous combination in the Eastern Conference. But Austin Reaves, he wanted to stay in LA. The Lakers wanted him, and they were able to come up on an agreement for $185 million for 4 years. And so it's going to be interesting to see that backcourt now. So the backcourt is set in stone. Luka Doncic and Austin Reaves for the next several years. So, hey, it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works going forward. I know they're good friends and they have played well together Luka's time here. And so, all together, this is the commitment for the Lakers. This is a commitment for Austin Reaves, pairing him with Luka Doncic. And the Lakers are not done yet. We're actively trying to go after Jalen Duren of the Detroit Pistons. Lakers were somehow to get Duren, that would be an amazing get at the center position. Now, keep in mind that DeAndre Ayton, the Lakers' current starting center, has picked up his option for the Lakers for him to earn $8.9 million for the upcoming season with the Lakers. So he picked up his option, so he's going to be on the team. But if the Lakers were somehow to get Jalen Duren, or even somehow convince Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz to sign a contract, and bye-bye, we can trade away DeAndre Ayton. We can, obviously, I still think we need to trade away Jared Vanderbilt for how much he is making. I think it's highway robbery how much we're paying him at this point. But, if we're able to get those guys in, that'll be the centers that the Lakers need. At least one, obviously it's only going to be one of them. But if we can get one of them, that would be huge. Pairing them up with Luka Doncic, pairing them up with Austin Reaves. Jalen Duren, Austin Reaves, Luka Doncic. That is a formidable playoff team. And you fit the pieces around them. You can say the same thing about Walker Kessler, fitting in the pieces. Now, one guy I would love for the Lakers to re-sign is Rui Hachimura. But, his bargaining chips are going to be really, really high. And so let's see if the Lakers can commit to Rui Hachimura and find a contract for him. But that's going to be really tough for the Lakers because I know there's going to be some suitors out for Hachimura. But yeah, the Lakers have their hands, look at the work is still not done. And obviously the work hasn't even really started in terms of building this team going into next season. And so, but, to cap it all off, it's going to be without LeBron James. And, that's the big piece going, of the day for at least, I think it's really, really kind of crazy to think about the LeBron James era is done, and I think looking back at the 8 years he was on this team, it is something that I feel like I said before, I'm really grateful for. Grateful that he donned the Lakers, the purple and gold Lakers uniform. And, look at wherever he goes, it's going to be the best for him and his family, hopefully. And I just want to see him have a great last NBA season going forward. But all right, guys, next week, we're going to be back with a very special guest again. We're going to be talking Dodgers baseball. And so that'll be fun. Look forward to that podcast. Obviously, Wrestling with Ryan is every week. We're going to be recording another podcast soon, talking all things about Night of Champions, talking all things about SummerSlam going forward. So if you're a pro wrestling fan, make sure to have that, to be subscribed to us because you don't want to miss anything from Lace 'em Up Sports. But all right, guys, until then, we'll see you next time.